as possible, and you can give them as much support as possible to help them and to guide them as to why they should do these things and what will happen if they do them, then come day one, they're already going to be better, and maybe they might buy in a little bit to that. But it's not easy, right? This is the holiday time as well.
Yeah, I think one of the key things you said is knowing their environment. Like, what environment are they going back to? And it is key. It's not as easy as, I think field players have it easier in a sense. And,
Yes.
For a goalkeeper, if they're going back and they don't have access, and you would hope as a pro that you do, but you never know, And so if they don't have access to what they need, what can we do as a
test mic check 1 2
as a core to set that up for you wherever you're going to be?
What?
And don't get me wrong. Everybody needs to rest as well.
Hey! What's going on?
You need to
hold on 1 second, everybody.
You don't have to be hitting the ground the 4 months you're out of season. Build into it. But knowing that person's environment is really, really, really important. And being able to set things up for that environment, you have that luxury more so with a goalkeeper crew than with 30 players, 30 field players.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to bring up a couple things, Saskia, that you just said on there right there. Now, and I want to kind of address it to both of you, but specifically to you, Saskia, because you were in the college environment.
All right, everybody, we are
one of the biggest
live
problems
at
in
the
the
United
college
Soccer
game,
Coaches
and I'm not trying to
Convention.
harp on the college game or anything. Is that you'll get
Anaheim,
these
California.
off-season training programs. Given, and I'll get it. They'll come to me to work with me during the summer.
Hold on.
And they're like, this is what the trainer said for me to work on. This is for the soccer players.
Bill Reno, can you hear us,
this
sir?
is for field
Yeah,
players.
I can hear you.
You didn't.
Can you hear us?
Your department did not build
We can't hear
an
you. Hold on a
off-season
second
program for
I am
you
going
to
make sure that
improve.
the audio.
They're basically
But that-
asking
I
you to
put
do the
that-
field player program.
But I put
Yeah.
that on their coaching staff as well.
Yeah.
Like for me at UCLA, I went to,
Hey, Bill Reno, how are you, sir?
Hey, doing good. How we doing in LA?
Oh, we're in Anaheim, California at the United Soccer Coaches Convention.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. By lovely Disneyland, not
That's
downtown
right.
Disney. That's across the street. We're by Disneyland and California Adventure.
Yeah.
Suskia's like,
It's not my hood. It's
I don't
not my hood. I'm not a Disney girl. Never have been. But if Mike says that, okay, I'm good with it.
Oh my
This
god.
could be the weekend that changes you. This could be it.
Yeah, this could be it. Can you see us well enough, or do we need to? Do we need to?
No, y'all are good. I see you good.
We don't need to turn on the light. Let's see here.
No, you're fine. I don't need a close zoom in or anything. You're good.
Well, good, because the battery's dead on the light. So that's
Great.
That's good. All righty. We'll let guys. We're going to start this in about 3 minutes right now. Just want to make sure that we have everything set up. Levels. You sound good. I got your videos on here, and we should be good to go. All right. Let me go brand, and let's get this started here. We're going to start a little bit early, guys. The thing's a little crazy here at United Soccer Coaches Convention.
Hell
Yeah, but you gotta love it. I mean, it's
you
so different. We got a field right here,
I know. It's crazy.
and you can't see it, Bill. But there's a 3v3 game going on right next to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me updates on that. Yeah.
I love it.
I need a throat lozenge, man. My voice is already going. It's crazy.
If you're
Here.
sick,
Well,
and
I'm
you
not-
get
I'm-
me sick.
we're all sick.
We're gonna have a problem.
Everybody's sick. Everybody's sick. Everybody's sick.
Saskia and I will carry you. Don't worry, Michael.
Yeah, Bill's fine. I'm fine.
We got it.
So
We got it.
well, Bill, you're going to be carrying this episode. I'm not going to lie,
Why?
Team effort.
because he
We
knows
got it.
everything about all
He
these.
does.
goalkeepers.
He is the end all be all.
No. Team effort.
Team effort. I don't know about that, man. I think you know everything there is to do about these goalkeepers. My phone is on my. I just realized that my phone is still on Bluetooth. I should turn it off. Bluetooth. Let me do that too. Susk, you might want to put your phone on airplane mode.
I got to give a shout out right now to the little Paisley Joe who's listening to us in Woodland Hills. I love you, kiddo. Get some sleep. Go to bed. Treat your grandma. Treat your grandma well.
Woodland Hills, where is that?
That's
Where's
I
Woodland
live.
Hills?
You're in. It's up by Calabasas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Away from me.
I got a message saying that Paisley was listening to us. So
Good.
yes, #1 fan.
She's got a direct line to the top. If she's getting a shout out from you, she's got some inside routes over there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think she's going to be a soccer player.
That's right.
I try to convince, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's get this going. Here we go. What the heck just happened there? That was oh. Welcome to a very, very live and crazy Inside the 18, live from Anaheim, California at the United Soccer Coaches Convention. I'm Michael Madgett, joined by 99 World Cup winner Saskia Weber, who's got her Red Bull, she's got her glasses, she's got her headset, she's got her hat, she's ready to go.
I am, and I'm watching a 3v3 game right here that I'm totally enthralled in.
This is absolutely amazing. This is honestly the first time I think we've ever done an Inside the 18 where there's literally a soccer game going on in front of us at the United Soccer Coaches Convention. And guys, if you're at the United Soccer Coaches Convention right now and you're watching this on the Union app, or you're watching it on Instagram Live or YouTube or Facebook or with a cup and a string and a styrofoam cup, however you watch the podcast, come on down to Media Row in the Exhibit Hall D. We're at booth 008. Come and say hello. We got incredible people. Jody Green, Melissa Paramo, right in the front, right over there. We are doing a raffle. We're giving away a gift bag from the Union. You're getting a free hat, Union Premium subscriptions, a lot going on. But Bill Reno is more important. There's the NWSL draft tomorrow, right?
Yeah, and Bill, I got to tell you this before we get into the NWSL draft, because you're the end-all be-all. I have never seen Mike like dumbfounded when Brad Friedel came up, lifted me off the ground, bear hugged me, and was like, "Hey, what's up?" And Mike's like, that's Brad Friedel. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Mike was looking like straight up at Friedel to see him.
I was also looking straight up at Friedel right over there.
I know. I mean, he's like Shaq. I mean, to be honest, what I loved about Friedel was when he used to stand for a PK and he used to extend his arms and hold the top of the post. Do you remember that? He used to hold the top of the post with his hands. That's how tall he is.
That's unreal. Now, Bill, did you ever did you ever get to see Brad Friedel live in person?
I was a little young. I caught him on the tail end there, but the 0-2 run is definitely something that was like my first World Cup of like having any idea. I was 13 at the time, so that was like my first World Cup, and obviously that was huge. He had 2 penalty saves in that tournament. I think he is one of 2 goalkeepers to have ever done that, not counting shootouts. But he had a big tournament, so he was a lot of fun. I wish I would have caught him more though.
But by the way, I'm not gonna lie. Like, for anybody out there who doesn't know who Bill Reno is, you don't need to fact check that. That's probably right, because Bill Reno literally knows everything about soccer statistics. So Bill, before we kind of get into the NWSL draft and everything like that, why don't you kind of catch everybody up with what's going on with you? You got a cool new project going on with these Hall of Fame cards.
Yeah. Actually, I have some prints next to me, so I just went to the printer today. So I'm working on these cards here. They'll be cut out. Obviously, this is just a sheet, so I don't have to, and it's not me cutting it, thankfully. So, working on some Hall of Fame cards. So I've been doing a little project the last few years of trying to find a way to preserve the history of women's goalkeeping, because what is it? Where did it start? Where does it go? And so there will be there's 34 individual goalkeepers. I'll have like a picture on the front, and then on the back they'll have their own bio. Just trying to find a way to make it a little bit more tangible as opposed to just having it something on the internet. So a little project, but I'm excited to get it off the ground.
I mean, I love that, man. I mean, I think one of the really cool things about Bill Susk is just like his passion for literally everything like deep cut goalkeeping. Like, honestly, like if you talk to Bill and he's like, oh man, did you watch like that Croatian second division goalkeeper, Alyssa, what's her face? Like, she's amazing. She played at blah, blah, blah.
No, I love it because Bill reached out to me and said, hey, are you doing the college draft for the NWSL this year? And I'm not. I did the expansion draft. And he was just like, what do you need? And I'm like, you know what, Bill, send it to me anyway. And the breakdown is undeniable. Oh. And it's like Paisley's in the breakdown. Like, she's not an NWSL goalkeeper yet, but in 15 years.
My favorite is like, if you guys have not been on Everybody's Soccer.
Like, she's got a breakdown.
I mean, seriously, Bill, like in Everybody's Soccer, you're like, the top 10 U13 goalkeepers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the DC metro area.
Yeah. He knows everything. It's amazing.
Where do you find all this?
I think my next goal is to get more people to tell me I'm wrong, because I feel like I'm in an area that not enough people are. I need more dissension. I need more outside. But
I feel like people don't know as much as you do, so nobody's going to tell you you're wrong.
Well, I'll be honest. I know there are people out there who know more than me, but they're very tactful and they're very quiet online, and they're the higher up people. Those are the ones I'm trying to get into to get their thoughts. So, but they stay quiet when it comes to public, but they move some strings. So,
I think one of the things, Bill, in regards to that is people don't know that you don't just post, content in regards to like different rankings and everything like that, but you're actually a goalkeeper coach yourself, and you've been working in the college game for a while. Like, how important is it for you to stay involved in the game as a coach too, when you're involved on the media?
Yeah, everyone's got a different route, and I definitely admire people that want to put something online, because it obviously is a little, I mean, as y'all know, it's anyone can take a cheap shot at you from a million miles away and say you're crazy or you're wrong, and that obviously stings a bit. But so I do appreciate someone wanting to put something on. I think for me, being confident of putting something on, I had to put it in practice. Anyone can write anything. So I think for me, it's like, okay, well, I can think this, or I can, assume this, but if it doesn't translate to the actual game with the goalkeepers I'm working with, it's kind of meaningless. So it's been important for me, but it's not, I don't know if that's everyone's path.
I will say this though, Sus, because obviously, you've been on both sides, on the media side and on the coaching side. I think it's difficult to do the media side if you haven't been involved in the game as a coach or a player. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do, because as an analyst, you look at things from the coaching side. You look at it from the playing side. So for me, to have somebody come in that's never played, that's never coached or anything like that, that's a difficult position to come in from.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of that, Bill, like, when we're talking about the NWSL draft, as we're kind of getting into today's topic, is that draft tomorrow, there are a lot of people out there who are really now starting to scout these goalkeepers. It's not like it was kind of in the past, Susk, whether it's the men's game or in the women's game, where, it's grainy footage, from somebody's, parents, camcorder, at their college game. I mean, you've got legitimate broadcast quality content now to really be able to scout these players, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of layers to it. So one, the broadcast is like times 10. I hate to say it, but Saskia's time, even when she was a pro, like the broadcast wasn't always the sharpest. And so like I can, it's not impossible for me to go find video on a D2, D3, NAIA, ECNL, G8, like there's just so much out now. So there's
you
that.
You can't find my 8mm?
Yeah, still looking for that one. But then the league ran the combine this year. They've North Carolina and Louisville have done stuff on their own, but they did a joint one this year. So even if, I think this is something that will grab traction in the future, but like if you miss the whole season, which is not ideal, but like you can go to those combines and see goalkeepers there, and that's something MLS has done, and now NWSL is picking up as well. So there's a lot of ways to connect with the goalkeepers now.
It's funny that you mentioned that combine right there, Bill, because I think honestly that is so huge. Goalkeepers, we talk about it all the time. How many goalkeepers fall through the cracks because they're not given the opportunity? Let's say you played at a small school and you go to one of these combines. and you showcase that you can play at that level, Susk.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've talked about the fact that if you're on an ECNL team and you go into a tournament or something like that, how much are you really showing as a goalkeeper? How much are they really seeing? And so it's so important for you to go into a combine, go into a training camp and everything, so people can actually really see you.
Yeah, Bill, like, do you know what the kind of like the genesis of this like NWSL combine is? Because obviously MLS has been doing it for a while.
Yeah, so like I said, Louisville and North Carolina, they've been doing theirs individually. I think North Carolina's done it 3 years prior to this year. And then this year, I believe it was Haley Carter that kind of got things started of saying, hey, how about we do a joint one and just put it all together here? So the one they had this year, they had 17 goalkeepers, but it was just one day. I think you could see that expand to a couple of days in the future. But unlike in MLS where they all have their individual, there's one at one team, one on another team, I think on the women's side, there's more likely to have a joint one that just will run. Now they may split them up again. Who knows? But yeah, from all accounts for the coaches there, it was kind of jam-packed of evaluating the goalkeepers, educating the goalkeepers, but also bringing in coaches from lots of different ranks and educating them. The USC with Lisa Cole was involved with that. So it was a lot of kind of layered thing that I think a lot of people kind of missed, which is understandable. But for the people that were there, like they got a lot out of it. And I think to one of your points, it is huge for the goalkeepers to go there. But one thing that they can't really replicate back home is the pressure. Now you're training in front of pro coaches. Like that's a huge jump in pressure that maybe someone coming from Tiny Tim University like didn't really get that, and now they're in front of pro coaches. Like that's a big jump. So there's a lot.
I don't know. Have you seen Tiny Tim University? They are solid.
I have. I've seen a lot of universities, and some.
I feel like Tiny Tim University was one of the schools that did send me a letter. They're like, you know what?
I think you would have. I think you would have been perfect.
I think I would have been great. Like we only recruit goalkeepers under 5'10". That's all we do.
Yeah, what could have been. Yeah.
So before we kind of start talking about these players and everything like that, like what are some of the trends, Bill, you're seeing now when you're talking about the draft? Obviously, one of the difficult things when you're talking about the NWSL draft is playing time, since there is no technically lower division for NWSL. There is now the new USL, women coming in as a division, I think trying to be a Division I league as well too. But in regards to the NWSL, it's very difficult to get playing time.
Yeah, the landscape's changing and it's rapidly changing. I would love to see the two leagues work together. I think if genuinely the USL League is wanting to make themselves a first tier, it only makes sense to pull first tier players over and have them play. But I think what's more likely to happen is you won't see too much of any loan between the two leagues, because it's kind of classic US soccer landscape that people are vying for power and pulling each other apart. So I would love to see more cooperation there. But as of right now, if you get drafted, it kind of depends on your situation. But Australia has been a big home for a lot of American goalkeepers. I think we've got 3 or 4 there right now. France hasn't been too poor, but I think that one's a tougher connection to get into. So there are ways to go get games other places, but without a reserve league here, like it's kind of 50. I don't know if it's even 50-50. It's unlikely that you're going to be getting a lot of games somewhere. Like you're looking at a good chance of just training for a year, which some people need, and some people need games. Just kind of depends where you're at in your arc.
I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. Like Susk, obviously you're an analyst for NWSL, and you've seen this. There was the Challenge Cup, and there was opportunities for some goalkeepers to get opportunities. Obviously, you're talking about the fact that Angie, got playing time with Angel City. That first year and everything like that. But the fact of the matter is, like, should a lot of these goalkeepers really be freaking out about tomorrow about getting drafted, or should they really be more focused about getting into a camp and finding an environment where they fit? Look at Liv Sakani. She didn't get drafted last year, and she ended up at Racing Louisville.
No, but what goalkeepers should be worried about is going and getting games. And I agree with you 100%. Like, we need to have some sort of a collaboration with the Australian League, with the European leagues and stuff like that. So our third string goalkeepers, our second string goalkeepers are going out and playing, because you're not going to see them there. As a goalkeeper, you don't want to sit on the bench. And if you sit for 3 years, they're going to bring somebody in that was playing for 3 years somewhere else. So we have to have that collaboration. And I would love the collaboration to be with the USL, but it's not going to happen. You know, they're battling head to head to be the number one. It's not going to happen. First of all, they're not going to happen. That's just my opinion, and everybody can come at me. But they should be a second division team. NWSL should be first division, and there should be a work in and a work progress there.
Thoughts, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, I think it's telling that when this goalkeeper combine happened, you had multiple coaches, multiple teams, all coming together to work together. And I think in the goalkeeping sphere, we're typically pretty willing to work together. I think right now, you know, you see Caitlin Rowland going out west, leaving North Carolina. I guarantee you, Nathan Thackerley at North Carolina is super proud of what Caitlin's about to go do. You know, they've worked very closely. There's been a lot of time and effort there. You know, in my opinion, and I've thought this for a while, she's a number one in the league. Like, I think she can go do it. So I think from a goalkeeping standpoint, we understand the point of collaboration. I think from the higher ups, they view it more as a threat or a scared, or, you know, it's one of those things like, okay, we've got to make inroads. And, you know, yeah, you know, the USL side, they want to get it at the table, and we've got to figure out a way to make that work, as opposed to just like kind of fighting and scorching the earth and, you know, only having one of the two standing. Like, you need both. So I can go on a long soapbox about that. I will say, Saskia, I think they'll do at least 1 year. I'll give them at least 1 year. I think year two, as you are probably remember, like year 2 and year 3 of leagues are really tough, but I think year 1 you can.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine with year 1, but what you're running into is running up against the European time. So you're going from fall to spring. Number one, in the United States, we all know television wise and everything else wise, that is a college football, college soccer, NFL, and everything like that. That's why the MLS, that's why the NWSL plays when they play. So you're running into those things as far as like production goes and everything like that. On the other side, it's taken 12 years for the NWSL to have franchises that are worth $150 million, $60 million, $75 million, and stuff like that. You can't roll in with a $2 million franchise and think you're going to come up against a $150 million franchise.
Yeah.
I think.
Wow.
I'm sorry, that's the truth.
No, you're not wrong. They're going to need a lot of patience and honestly a lot of money to like stay afloat. And if people start pulling out early, like we've seen in the past, like there goes the league.
And my worry is that like, unlike, you know, second divisions and third divisions, you know, in Europe that are, you know, supported, you know, by fan bases that have been, you know, supporters of that club from that town for their entire lives. There's no like, oh man, I've been a Fresno supporter. You know, my grandfather was a Fresno supporter, and that sort of. So it's very easy for someone to jump ship if something's not working. Look at American football and like the UWFL.
Is that the name of it?
USFL.
I don't even think you know the name of it.
Exactly,
and that's the point.
Exactly.
Okay, and I think The Rock owns it. All right.
Well, the ones from last year had to merge together for this year. So the USFL and the XFL are now the UFL or something like that. All right, let's get into the draft. Obviously, you know, what are some the things tomorrow, you know, that we should be looking out for? First off, Bill, before we start looking at some of these goalkeepers that you're looking at, what are the chances of goalkeepers even going high in the draft tomorrow?
You know, I don't think it's this year, to be honest. And I do think mock drafts and predictions are kind of silly, because the reality is what it takes to get a player drafted a lot of times is not publicity and what everyone is seeing. It's what's happening behind closed doors. A coach knows a coach who knows a player. You know, like there's something very intimate there that is going on that the public just doesn't see. So you never really know. It's been a while since we've had a goalkeeper go in the first round. I think the one that really stands out to me, and just because it's kind of a unique situation, but Emmy Allen coming out of UNC, she redshirted her first year, so redshirt sophomore. But she is foregoing her rest of her eligibility, which obviously very rare. You don't see that happen too often. And so she's in the draft. I think, obviously coming out of UNC, like that's a big name brand there. I reached out to her and just kind of asked her about her decision to go on, and she decided like the development, it's tough in college to consistently train, and there's all the limited hours of when you can and can't work with a coach. And so I think she's really interesting. I think at UNC, my personal opinion, goalkeeping kind of gets boiled down a little bit to being a little bit one-dimensional, and I think watching her game, she has a lot of depth to it. But if you're leaning on the narrative side, she's lost back-to-back finals in probably the most painful way you could. So it kind of depends where you want to put your eggs on it. But I think she's a really interesting goalkeeper. You've got Christina Roque out of Florida State as well. That one's probably the next highest up for me. But Madison White, first-team All-American, coming out of Texas Tech. Like, there's definitely some big names in it, but I think Emmy Allen's one for me personally, that she's younger. She's hungry. The question is, what can you do with that? You don't want to just have her sit for 3 years, of course. So that's the big one.
I want to look at her tape again here. And first off, while we're looking at this tape, obviously a quality goalkeeper, and obviously some great, some great actions right here that we're seeing with her and everything like that. And I love the fact that obviously she's holding on to the ball and clean handles and everything like that. But Susk, the fact that now goalkeepers are coming out as underclassmen. We literally just had a conversation a few hours ago with somebody regarding how difficult it is for a goalkeeper to be ready to play at any level without experience. And now you're talking about underclassmen leaving college to try to play in the professional game.
Yeah, and I think it's a mistake. I mean, bottom line is, and Bill, I think you can back me up on this, is that no goalkeeper coming out of, I don't care if you're coming out of UCLA, you're coming out of Florida State, or wherever you're coming out of, you're not going to start in a pro team, in a pro league, whether it's the NWSL, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in South America, as a debutant. It's not going to happen. And so you have to get up to speed. You have to get up to everything. So coming out as an underclassman, as a sophomore, as a junior, it's not the same as coming out as an Alyssa Thompson or her sister or something. You get slowly worked into the process as a field player. You do not get slowly worked in as a goalkeeper. It's all about training. And so, like you said, Bill, you can sit for 3 years and train for 3 years. You could play 2 more years in college, and then you could go somewhere else and then come back.
Yeah. I think it's a tough call, because a lot of goalkeepers, when they go to Europe, they're getting in awful environments for development. They're not having a goalkeeper coach. They're not having this and that. In the league, there's a bit of a spectrum with it as well. If there's some really good environments, and there's ones that are kind of lacking a bit. And so if you can get yourself into a better environment, is that really the payoff for no games? Is it better to play in a worse environment? Like, these are kind of the questions that on the men's side, they're not really having to ask as near as often. But on the women's side, like, this is, it's saying something that a UNC goalkeeper with, years left on the table, 2 years left, is saying like, I'd rather go try a pro, because I think I can develop better. And I think in some sense you have to respect it, but I think your cause for concern is fair, Sauce, because
I understand the mentality when you go to college. College is, you have blackout periods, right? So you're not allowed to talk to your coaches. You're not allowed to work out. You're supposed to study.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a different blackout period. I was like, I don't
well, that's true too. But you have blackout periods where you can't train.
Yep.
Unless it's on your own, and you can't have any insight, you can't have any coaching or anything like that. And I get that. If you're like, I'm trying to progress, I'm on the youth national team, this and that and the other, and I can't have these moments of pause, in a sense. But at the same time, it's not right for goalkeepers. Goalkeepers should not come out early, period. I'm sorry.
Well, obviously, it's just she's put down the microphone. She's literally, I thought she was going to drop.
Goalkeepers should not come out early.
Going to bring it down right there. Well, look, Bill, in the men's game, this is just the trend now. We literally were even joking about the fact that like the men's college draft is now a phone call. because they consider that significant now compared to where it was before, where it was a full-on production because they were looking at these players to be, instant players. Right now, it seems like now in the men's game, any halfway decent player, by 11 or 12 is already snatched up by an MLS Next Academy and is already under contract with them before they even go to college.
Yeah, it's different from there's definitely some parallels and there's definitely some big differences. To give some reference, for the NWSL final, we had 2 young goalkeepers with Manny Hott and Claudia Dickey, and they were 24, 25. So for Emmy Allen, I think she's 21, but Enrique, I think she's 22, 23. Like, to Saskia's point, if Allen gets drafted and she ends up being a young goalkeeper that plays, that's still 3 or 4 years for her. So, then it comes a question. It's like, well, how good is she? Can she play earlier? So, I think if you're gonna roll the dice on this, you really have to put faith in who's picking you up and do they have a track record of taking care of their goalkeepers, or are they just gonna, are they drafting one young goalkeeper and then drafting another young goalkeeper and then not really having a plan for both of them and just seeing what happens? So
well, are they drafting them, training them, and selling them?
Yep.
Let's move on to another prospect that you've liked in the draft right here that you think has the potential to be an NWSL starter one day. Christina Roque. First off, Bill, we're going to put some highlights of her up right now so you guys can kind of see what is it about her that you like. And she's a Puerto Rican international. Is that correct?
So I don't know her backstory as I should know, but she could have played for the U.S. She's cap tied with Puerto Rico, so it's like she can't come back. But I think for teams drafting, she is going to be a big plus because she won't count as an international player because she has citizenship here. But for her, she's a really interesting goalkeeper. I think she's probably the number 1 goalkeeper in college with the ball at her feet. She's not perfect by any means, but she is very good. But I think the thing that stands out to me is she plays at the level of her teammates, and maybe in young person's terms, she's a bit of a gamer in the sense that like when it's time to compete, like she shows up. She's not really flashy, and sometimes it can look clunky, like that clip right there looks a little clunky. However, like somehow, some way, she managed to get the job done. So she's a tough goalkeeper to show someone to say like, hey, this is what it should look like. Because there's times where I'm like, oh, that looked a little odd, but you can't deny the track record. And I mean, maybe the most confident goalkeeper as well in college. Like that's something that's going to stand out for a lot of pro coaches with when they're looking at who to bring in. Like just a little stuff like on that play where she kind of freezes a little bit, just like, hey, I got like, look at me, I've got the ball. Like that sort of stuff I love. She's got a little bit of flair in her game. So I think she's a really interesting goalkeeper, but she's also can play out of the back, which is a huge plus.
One thing, Suska, that I'm noticing about these profiles of these of these goalkeepers like Christina Roque is that, just we were talking about length and wingspan earlier today, and it just seems like the goalkeepers that have that profile are more sought out in the league. Is that just you think just because so many goalkeepers now are coming up with that profile already, being identified, being brought into college, or do you think it's just because they fit the professional game better?
Well, I think the argument here is that, like, Bill said, is that she's good with her feet. And I actually think that's the profile that's being sought after. You have cookie cutter things like goalkeepers can make the saves. They have a long wingspan. They can, go to the upper 90 and everything like that. But who is good and solid with their feet? And, so that is what I think every team is actually looking for.
Yeah. Bill, I mean, you're probably correct on that. Bill, I know that you've been doing a lot of research and analysis in regards to the amount of possession that goalkeepers are playing now in the league. When the college game isn't reflective of the professional game, how difficult is it to scout that?
Well, I think that's part of the complaint from the pro coaches is that a lot of goalkeepers are getting to the level of getting drafted or getting that time to make the jump, and they're not rounded out. They've been really good at 3 out of 4 things, but and even that ball, like that one hangs up a bit, but the right back can pull that down. So, it's who can play out of the back sounds simple, but you just don't see it a lot in the women's game yet. We're getting closer and better, but a lot of teams, at UNC, like they didn't really play out of the back like this. Like Emmy Allen's not doing this sort of stuff. She's not directing traffic or driving that ball there. So, it's huge in pro game. I think they want the colleges to develop the goalkeeper more. But again, with those kind of blackout periods, it's like, right now, like in January is the time to kind of like really hone in on this stuff. But like goalkeepers are kind of left alone, or they have to go work with their old club coach or something. So it's a tough problem to solve, but it's in high demand nonetheless. That's a good ball there.
No, I mean, these are all really good balls. Let's move on into this next goalkeeper right here. Now, who's this that we're about to see from South Carolina?
Heather Hines. She is really probably one of the more exciting goalkeepers, just because I never quite know what I'm going to get. She's a little undersized, but immensely athletic, and she has an amazing split save. I mean, I think that's probably the best in the game. She's really agile, and she has to do that to kind of make up for a little bit of height there. But she, I think this is the clip here, kind of like this save here. Like, you just don't see that a whole lot. That's starting to creep in a bit more on the collegiate side, but like she makes it look easy, and so she's really exciting because she can do stuff like that and does it again there. But there's times where it's almost too brash, and she's leaning a little bit too much into it. Not as bad as some of her peers, but she's one that is interesting because it's like, well, can she tone up a little bit and clean up a little bit, or is that just what it's going to be like? So she is a really fascinating goalkeeper because for me, this is probably one of the bigger what ifs in the draft of like, well, can she figure it out? Can she clean up her game, or is it always going to be a little sloppy?
But speaking of that though, Susk, in regards to the what if types, like, okay, if you're in the later rounds and you want to make sure that she can't get into anybody else's camp, do you take a flyer on a goalkeeper like that because you're like, wow, well, the ceiling on this person is absolutely worth it for us to somebody else's camp, because if they can pop at the professional level, imagine if we had missed out on that.
Well, I think when we see that in the drafts, we see them allow goalkeepers to drop out of the draft and then invite them into camps. I think what you're seeing here is like a Maddie Mangio. Like, you're seeing somebody that's so athletic and so, her timing is epic on the through balls and coming off her line and everything. So it's not that you're taking a chance on somebody like this. Look, you have the cookie cutter goalkeepers that right now are like 6 feet tall, right? But then you have to fill that with goalkeepers that are athletic and quick, and maybe they're 5'7", maybe they're 5'8". They get off their line and they make those saves.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking. I mean,
it's a nod to you, Mike.
Oh well. when people think athleticism and goalkeeper profile, they think of me. That is.
I was talking about the short.
Oh, the short. By the way, my men's league is very disappointed that I'm not playing tonight. That I'm here at the United Soccer Coaches Convention instead at beautiful Media Row in Exhibit Hall D, guys. Booth number 008. If you're around, why am I looking around at everybody here as if they're staring at me right now? I should be staring at you, though. Okay, so let's move on, because there's another goalkeeper I think that you were really high on right after her right here, and there's the corner. I actually want to see the corner kick real quick here. Ooh, good touch. I'm noticing a lot of boxing by these goalkeepers. I'm not.
No, yeah, and I like her athleticism. I like her explosiveness. So if this is somebody you bring in as a 2 or as a 3, they add something to training. They add something to like your everyday, and you can count on them if something happens.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, let's move on. I think there's another goalkeeper that you had right here. Is this more of her?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so there's a lot of Heather, by the way. So I have a feeling that you're pretty high on that goalkeeper ceiling right there. Okay, so let's talk about your next goalkeeper right here. This is at Texas Tech, right? They playing Princeton? They're playing Princeton in this.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, because you're from Princeton, New Jersey.
I am, but I went to Rutgers.
I know you did. But Princeton, New Jersey.
Yes, I am a Tiger at heart, but I am also a Scarlet Knight.
Okay. All right, but what do we got going on right here?
Well, you got your first team All-American, so I can't really go wrong with that. Madison White, I think the big thing for me is watching her from 2022 to 23, probably the highest growth for a goalkeeper, at least one of. Obviously, switching goalkeeping coaches, and I think that's paid off with Blair coming down, and he's done really good work with her. But I think for her, the question for me is it's the opposite for Hines. So Madison's got good heights, right? But you can see from the footwork, it's slower from how she moves, but she covers more of the goals, more explosive, stronger. Like, so where do you want to put your, put your eggs? Do you want to go with someone who's maybe a little slower but has a little bit more power, or do you want to go with someone who's a little bit quicker, can move fast, good on 1v1s, but they're going to struggle with some of the height, some of the directness in the league? And I think right now, where the league's going, where it is right now, that's a good save there, that they're going to lean on the taller goalkeepers for sure. I think both Madison White and then also Caldwell from A&M we'll see here in a little bit, I think. But they're good on crosses. They're strong. Like, they kind of fit the profile. I think the question for me is, was the growth kind of a 1-year thing, or how much is left in the tank? And, that's a question that we all have to kind of wait to see. But certainly interesting goalkeeper for sure.
Bill, I know when you had made a list and everything like that, there were also some goalkeepers on there that you felt were in this draft that may not potentially be right for the NWSL. Does that mean that you feel like they're not right to be a professional, or they're just not right for that league?
Well, I mean, the term professional, I think people don't really understand exactly what that entails, because you can be on a pro league and, be making peanuts. You can be on a pro league and be getting paid well, but the quality isn't very good. It's a lot of variety in a couple different directions. So I genuinely believe, and this I'm not being facetious with this, if you are on a Division I team or a good Division II, Division III team, there's a professional league for you somewhere. Now, it may be a cow pasture, but it's still a pro league. So it kind of depends on what your standard for pro is.
I have played on cow pastures.
Wait, you played on a cow pasture?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God. That's
yeah. So you get it. And if that's your dream, I think it's really admirable when people go overseas and there's not fanfare and you grind over it. Like, that's really admirable to someone to do that, because you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for anyone else. But when you say, like, someone's not anyone that's in the draft right now, there's a pro league for sure. Now it may not be in the U.S., but there is a pro league. Just kind of depends if you can even get in there, or even if you want to do that.
But I think that's a good point, Bill. I think it's what's your end game, right? Are you going in to grind, to go to the cow pasture, or go to the dirt field that I played in Japan?
Wait, dirt field in Japan?
Dirt field that I used to rake before practice so I could loosen up the dirt so it didn't hurt so much when I dove.
Like the maintenance people? Like you would?
I would just loosen up the dirt. But is that your commitment to getting to your end game? Or do you want to sit on a bench as the third goalkeeper and say, hey, I'm the third goalkeeper for San Diego in the NWSL, and I'm never going to see the field? So what is your mentality? What is your end game? And what are you willing to sacrifice to become the goalkeeper you think you are?
I mean, that's a great point right there. Now, Bill, I just want to ask you right now, since we have you here, do you have an analysis and a breakdown of Saskia playing for Oki on the dirt field?
Oki Dada.
I've never even seen that. I would love.
Well, it was half grass, half a baseball field. So the baseball field was dirt. And so it was so hard that we used to take this metal rake and rake it across, me and Tammy Pierman, rake it across the front of the 18 to just chunk up the dirt. So I was actually eventually diving on sand.
That's unbelievable. Diving on sand. So it was like beach soccer, basically.
No, it wasn't that thick.
Okay. You still wore boots. It wasn't like you were wearing no shoes.
That's a loose analogy.
No shoes type of thing. Now, Bill, we're going to go a little bit lighter today over on this. I know a lot of you guys are used to our 3-hour podcasts, but it's a little crazy here at convention, so we're going to try to save it a little bit. And I know a lot of people out there right now are at convention who are watching this. Do you kind of have any final thoughts on tomorrow's draft? What trends people should be looking out for, and coming up in 2024? Any goalkeepers that we should be taking a look at?
Well, I think to be honest, like, what you should be looking for is like year 2. So like, I'm not really a big fan of drafts in general. Like I'd rather it just be an open market of like, hey, like if the place makes an offer for you, like, you're gonna let the players decide and give them some more freedom on that. That said, I mean, there is some fanfare and excitement that someone is officially, getting a foot in the door. What they actually get out of that, I'm a little foggy on if they have to be offered a legit contract or not. I know in MLS, if you get drafted, you have to get a legit contract. I'm pretty sure, but there's some excitement there. But the reality is, like, they haven't done anything. Like, you can get drafted and be a complete, bust and never play, and that happens honestly somewhat frequently. So, for me, like, I think I'm interested in some certain teams that draft because I know, okay, that's a good environment. But then I see sometimes goalkeepers get drafted. I'm like I hope it works out because like they haven't had a great track record thus far. So for me, it's kind of year 2 or year 3. But it's kind of interesting to see the results. But if you put too much weight in today, like you're just trying to get clicks and headlines. There's not a whole lot to really take away from just tomorrow.
I think my question is, do you see any team in the NWSL that needs a keeper?
You don't know.
Like, let's be blunt and honest.
I'm trying to think. Let me stall for a little bit of time. You answer your question first. Let me go through the teams real quick. But you answer if you. I'm leaning no right now, but you go first.
No, I don't believe there is whatsoever. Like even the new team, even the expansion teams and everything like that. No, I think that Bay.
You think Bay and
no, I think Bay is going to bring. I think we're going to see after the draft that Bay is going to bring in a European goalkeeper, and that is played in. That is, schooled and everything like that to add to their.
Is that where Caitlin went? That's where Caitlin went, right?
Yeah. So although we're looking at Caitlin being their number 1, I think they'll bring in a European goalkeeper. That'll be their number 1. I think everybody else is set with their number 1s. I think they can bring in goalkeepers, but I don't think we're going to see a lot of goalkeepers go in the draft like we did last year in the 3rd round and 4th round. We saw a bunch of goalkeepers go. I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay. Bill, quick question for you. Obviously the trend now in the men's game in Major League Soccer is that there's a lot of goalkeepers coming in from overseas. I mean, we're looking at people like Petrovic now, who's like, starting at Chelsea because of injury and everything like that. When he was at New England Revolution that they brought in from overseas. Hugo Lloris coming to LAFC. Do you see a trend like that happening in NWSL, or do you think it's still going to be domestic goalkeepers for the most part?
They just doubled the salary cap, so I think there's a good chance of it. I think the problem that we run into is that like most of our goalkeepers are either close, if not better, than overseas. If you're going to pull someone in from overseas, like I'll be honest, there's probably half a dozen at most. There's not that many that like really push the envelope. So, and then even that, like you've got good American goalkeepers overseas. I'll just throw one name out there, Lainey Burdett, who's playing in Sweden with Vitsjo, I think is how you pronounce it. She's legit.
Wait, say that again.
I think it's Vitsjo, Vittsjo, but
we'll just say it sounds good to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry for the Swedish, speaking people, but like you could go bring her in, and like I think she could raise the level at a few teams, if I'm being honest. But again, that's an American goalkeeper, like Emily Alvarado, national team goalkeeper for Mexico, back up in Houston now. Like it's tough to pull in like these good goalkeepers, and Emily's a very good goalkeeper, but it's tough to pull in a goalkeeper. So they've got some money to splash, and you could see it with some of the, Mary Earps obviously has a lot of buzz right now, but is she really better?
Do you need to do that? I think that's the conversation we're having.
Yes, bring in Mary Earps so that Valentillas Joyce can start at Manchester United.
It's all because we want Fallon. It's all because we want Fallon to start. But at the same time, it's like, I agree with you, Bill. Do you need to do that? Because the goalkeeping here in America and the goalkeeping with Americans that are actually already playing abroad is at such an equal, like there's no difference in the level that do you need to spend an international player spot to bring in an Earps or something? You don't. You can go and find the Americans that are playing in Sweden, that are playing in England, that are playing in Spain, and you can bring them home and not use that spot.
I mean that's a great point, right? That's a great point right there. And there's nothing wrong with those goalkeepers playing overseas.
No,
playing in those.
They're
those
getting
are really
games.
Good, and those are also really good leagues too.
No, they're great leagues, and they're playing. That's the point.
Yeah. Well, Bill, this has been awesome. Obviously, we were talking about the Hall of Fame cards that you got going on. By the way, shout out to everybody who was at Jill Lloyden's session over here at convention right now. I know.
Was that what it was?
They just wrapped. No, not that.
Okay, I was like,
that was. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, me either. I thought that
was
a
pickup game going on right there. But honestly, if anybody there was at Jill Lloyden's session, come over to Exhibit Hall D. Booth 008 in Media Row right now. We're going to be here. Come say hello. We're also going to be doing a meet and greet with TKI tomorrow. So if you didn't get a chance to talk to Jill and the rest of TKI crew, you're going to be able to talk to them here on Media Row. Bill, you posted something based on a post that Jill made in regards to getting drafted. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then we're going to elaborate a little bit more with Jill on another show.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, Jill's legit. I'm jealous that y'all get to see that session. And, so I wish I could have done that or been there for that. She just put out her thread. I just forwarded on it. She did such a good job. I was like, I don't need it. If I add anything, it takes away from it. So I stayed out of the way. But one of the things that she talked about in her Twitter thread, number one, was character. And I think that's 100% right. I think, yes, you've got to, keep the ball in the net. But if you don't have the right mentality, like you're not going to survive. And people think, oh, it's it's soccer. I played at college. I can do yeah, that's right. But you've got to be able to rebound from making a really embarrassing mistake because it's going to happen at some point. And
yeah,
I think that's much, much easier said than done. A lot of people cannot do it. So, that's and she went on from there. But I think the fact that was number one was okay, she knows what she's talking about. And not that I ever had any doubt, but it's just more proof of Jill does such a good job. So, I highly recommend it. It's a great thread. It's on Twitter. She did 6 things on what she thinks it takes to really make it in the league. But I thought the fact that was the first one, it was a good point.
And I think for any young goalkeepers out there who are aspiring to play in the league, they should look at that thread. Susk.
No, absolutely. And she's just epic. Bottom line is Jill Lloyden, TKI and everything, they're on point. And she's just such a great mentor. And we're glad to have her a part of the union and everything. So you can't go wrong. I mean, I don't know. There's so much to say.
I mean, great segue right there over there, guys. If you're over here at Exhibit Hall D 008 Media Row, I'll get that right someday. Come by, say hello. If you don't know about the union, come by, learn all about the platform. You can go to uniongk.com. It explains everything. We have a raffle going on here, guys. If you come by and you do a 30-day free trial of Union Premium, you get a free hat. You also get entered into this raffle that we got going on for a whole Union gift bag with all sorts of different goodies going on. So come on by and check it out. And shout out to all our mentors that we've had, come by the booth already. And all of them have been doing amazing work. Really want to shout out people like Miguel Martinez, who we just met for the first time in person today, who just came on board as a new mentor today. Going to be doing some Spanish language stuff, some foundational work. And we're really, really excited about it. So I think you guys have to check it out, and also check out Everybody's Soccer, because honestly, Bill, the work that you do in regards to, these rankings really shines a light on a lot of goalkeepers out there who wouldn't be getting that shine on other outlets. So I think it's really massive. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. When I first started writing, I wanted to do these long, in-depth things, but then I realized no one liked reading those, and then everyone likes looking at the rankings. So I kind of steered that way. I was like, all right, we're going that way. So, but no, it's been fun just highlighting goalkeepers and saying hey, this person's done a good job. They deserve some attention. So. Yeah. And obviously, guys, if you want to reach out to us, it's contact@inside18media.com on email or at Goalkeeper Podcast on the Union app. It works just like any sort of social media. So you create your handle out there. You can DM us at Goalkeeper Podcast. We will get back to you. And hey, some people might be like, hey, more Bill Reno. And we'll have to have you back. More Bill Reno. 7th time? With 7th time? This is 5. Next is 6. I'm in the 5 times. Wow. Yeah. That's all right. So. All right, guys, we got to save our voice. That's all the time on Inside the 18. And we are out. Bye, Bill. Later, guys. Yeah.